What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Dan Oneil Show, the dose. I'm joined here by Greg Kosser. What's up, buddy? By the way, you
What
spelled
up?
you called it Art Basil, Basil,
Well,
right?
it's
Basil.
not
You
that
are a fool.
it's not that I said it was Basil. I said someone told me it was Basil. I actually tend to agree with you that it's Basil.
It's Basil. It's
Um,
confirmed Basil.
so it is Basil. And how was
Basil.
it? Fun? Good?
Yeah, I mean, I had a good time. I absolutely hate drinking. I hate the feeling. I still don't feel myself just yet, and it's been 4 or 5 days. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Some really good networking. Got to hang out with some people that I haven't hung out with in a long time. So overall, great time. But I'm ready to not have a drink of alcohol for I would probably say another 2-3 months.
I saw you. I don't know whose story it was. Maybe Amanda's with who's the guy from the Netflix show? Oppenheim.
Yeah. Oh man, that place is like riddled with.
Where was that?
That was at a restaurant called Mila, and that restaurant is
Mila.
actually in my top 3 favorite restaurants.
Really?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. He
Like
was there.
sushi-ish, right?
Yeah, it's like sushi, steak. They got like live performers while you're eating dinner. It was a really cool experience. But like you talk about money, and then having like money. Rolls Royce trucks, Bentley trucks, Lamborghinis. Like this one guy pulled up to a valet in a like $350,000 Huracan, and the valet's leaning on the car. Like, and the guy's totally fine with it. Like, buddy, are you kidding me? I wouldn't even let Emily lean on my BMW, let alone if I had a $350,000 car. So it's just the amount of money out there is insane.
I wonder if you did you run into Portnoy at all?
Yeah, he was at the convention center.
Really?
Didn't hang out with him or anything like that, but yeah, he was there. I mean,
I saw on TikTok there was a fuck, my shoulder is itchy. There was the one thing the one thing that kept recurring. They had an exhibit there where you'd put your debit card in this like art ATM, and the highest account balance was like the winner on the top. And like Diplo had like fucking $3 million in his checking account.
Yeah, that was there. Saw it. There was a huge line around it. People call that art.
It's like it's a blast. Like, what do you mean?
I would never.
That's crazy.
Listen,
I would never
get
do
into
that.
it, and my account is hacked. But you want to talk about like just lobbing yourself up to get hacked? That is the
Oh my
easiest
god.
way to put
Well,
your
and that's
bet.
this is another segment, but it's like you leaving money in your checking account is literally you're asking to be robbed. So
We'll get
whatever, we will get there. So let's recap the first episode actually. So we have first episode was good. We had the broke agent freak out was hysterical. So yes, I guess his meltdown was at 17:30. If anyone didn't hear last week's, you could hear it now. But I think it went pretty well, and we didn't promote it, which is great. But
Yeah, I did promote it.
Forward.
I felt a little uncomfortable. Like I guess went off on the last episode, and I don't know if I came off like as how I wanted to. So yeah, I mean, episode 1 was it was nice to finally get it out there, but some of the feedback, like you shouldn't be public about some of those things. You shouldn't be talking about drama, and I totally get that, and I steer clear of all that stuff. Like I am the least confrontational, the least dramatic person. I hate drama. I absolutely hate it. So that's why I didn't really want to promote it and put it out there too much. And this is the last I'll say of it too. Like I don't want to talk about it anymore. With that situation, I mentioned, the person was a grandfather. I wasn't trying to like be mean or rude or like about their age. I was just talking in regards to like maturity levels. And, I'm getting like, oh, well, you shouldn't have done it. Like you should be the bigger person. But it's kind of like, is anybody saying that to them? So I don't want to talk about it.
No, it's not worth it. I think I agree. I think that's kind of why you did the podcast, right? So you can kind of say stuff like that. But, of course, everyone always finds a reason to kind of bring it back to you for being an issue. So
yeah,
we move on. As we go forward, we're going to keep it rolling with, everything, the personal stuff. That's kind of what, people want to hear. So
yeah, we were supposed to have my dad on today's episode too.
Your father is a character.
If you've ever watched Ray Donovan, my father is Mickey from the show. So he's been around since day one. I mean, obviously he saw like the entire journey. So we wanted to have him on today to talk about some of those things. But he said he needs like a 2-week notice so that way he can dye his hair and dye his beard and he can
make sure his nails look good and he can get the proper lighting for a camera set up. So we'll get him in here. We'll sneak him in. You won't know when he's coming, but we got a bunch of stuff. We got a bunch of stuff to do with him. So we are switching up. We're approaching into the holiday season, which, you guys just had your holiday party and I was just at one last night too. But we're bringing up the topic, which is an article that you guys had written in BAM. do realtors and really real estate professionals in general, do we have a drinking problem? So this is hysterical. Last night these holiday parties are turning into literal weddings. Like it's bad. And like people are showing up. That's great. Everyone's celebrating this and that, but some people get absolutely tuned at these things.
Oh my God, the Signature's holiday party was probably 3 times a wedding. There had to have been like 700 people there. It was
At a wedding venue too.
it was amazing. It was
Yeah.
incredible. It was like, it was like a gala. The holiday parties, and there's so many of them too. Like I'm
I
trying to
know
be
it's tough.
so, I'm honored to get invited to the ones that I am. And it's like, you're trying your best, but they're a lot of work. Like, they're all night events. You're right. People do get absolutely smoked at these. So it's kind of like,
Boxed.
yeah, you got to like pick and choose. I went to
It's
Signature, I
also
didn't drink.
like it's weird because you almost want to let loose, like have a drink with some people that you've worked with all year, like celebrate good deals, whatever, tell stories. But there's always a very fine line where someone takes it way too far. And that's like if you go to those things, if you were just an invisible person and just like seeing what was going on out there, it's scary to hear some of the stuff that gets thrown out there. So
Yeah, but I don't think, I mean, like in regards to the article, I think yes, do realtors and does our industry love to drink? For sure. Is it because this is one of the most stressful jobs that exist? I would say so. But I also know of other industries that same thing. Like my father owns a landscape masonry company. Those guys, you got to stop at 7-Eleven before you even start your drive home to grab a couple beers.
right.
So, you can kind of say the same thing. The hospitality industry that I was in before real estate, the
Yeah,
common
like working behind the bar, you're a bartender, you're gonna just be throwing shots back like
you go
with your
out.
clients. And
Yeah. So I think it's kind of like just any other business.
well, I think our business has become so incredibly like social where we know plenty of real estate agents where they're like there's no separation of church and state. It's
Mhm.
I am my social life and my business life are one and the same. They only hang out with people in real estate, which is great. Like you should want to be friends with the people, of course, that you're doing business with. But I don't know where the script was flipped that it's just like that's all people do now. Like it's not like they don't have their own friends where they like go to a game, or it's just like, yeah, like we go to all these real estate networking events and we get hammered. Like
I can't do it anymore. Like
yeah.
I didn't drink for 6 weeks before Art Basel, and it was like one of the best I've ever felt. I'm again still like struggling. I'm still don't feel like myself. So like to go out on a Wednesday night and drink, and I get it all the time. Like, oh, like what's wrong with Dan? Dan's not being himself. Like, no, I'm just I don't want to drink. I can't. I
It's
can't
also
drink on a
tough.
Wednesday night.
Yeah, it's tough to go to those things and not drink though, because people suck and people are like, "Is there a reason you're not having a drink?" And it's like you
Yeah.
almost feel weird. Like you're better off literally getting a club soda with a lime. Like, yeah, it's a vodka soda, dude. Like, yeah, but it's not.
I developed like legitimate social anxiety, and
Oh
I think
yeah,
part of it is because like I'm not drinking at these events. So when people come up to me and they are whacked out of their mind and they're talking and like I'm just dead sober with a club soda in my hand, like I start to feel uncomfortable. So like at these networking events, like you got to see me. If there's a camera, people probably think I'm like something's wrong with me because I talk to somebody and then I like do a lap and I try to just keep my head down and see someone like random and then I just do the same. Like it's a vicious cycle. Or like I show up and I'll just leave in like 20 or 30 minutes because I'm not drinking. And I think like I haven't really, I don't know, I'm like not as social when I'm not drinking. And I
it's
feel
been about this business has been like it's very clicky now too. Like you go to these events and literally like I almost feel like there's like you can be bullied at a real estate at a Long Island real estate networking event. Like you will be bullied and you will be judged. So come one, come all. But it's like when the hell did that happen?
yeah, I mean, even like Signature's retreat in Montauk, like I drove all the way out there, spent like 30 minutes there, and I'm because I'm not drinking, like I couldn't stay. And it's just like it's so weird. Like I'm the person on social media, right? But like I don't know, I'm developing like social anxiety. It's so I can't explain it. It's bizarre.
I mean, it makes sense. It's like we were saying before. It's very difficult to go to stuff like this and not be drinking. Or we're hitting it on drinking, but the forced networking environment that we're kind of in now, especially when people already they already have they're people that they already work with. They just go to these things like we said. It's just a hangout, and you go there. Maybe you're a young kid that wants to go to a networking event, break into real estate and it's tough because now people may not even want to talk business, but whatever. It is what it
It's
is.
imperative though. Like if you are a newer agent or if you are trying to get in and brand yourself and, make a name for yourself, it's imperative to go to these networking events.
I think the main thing, you're not going to, in my opinion, I could be wrong, but you're usually not going to these things and like meeting a realtor. Let's say, for example, in my shoes, I'm a lender. I meet a realtor for the first time and boom, I start doing business with them. It's more so of just like continuously seeing the same people. So like now let's say I have a client that you're the agent and we go submit an offer and that listing agent knows us so well. Like, oh, Greg's the best. I see him in all these things. Dan, his name goes a million miles.
Yeah,
That's what it's about. Like, it's just about like kind of knowing people within the industry and not so much about thinking you're going to go there and just get people to automatically start working with you.
Yeah, and putting a face to a name and learning, right?
Yeah.
There's a million different things that these
you got to let,
but
and that's what social media has been so good at, which obviously you do really good at, but well, you do very well. But I've always been someone who wanted to like be, doing this in person. So it's like, if you don't go to these things, like people don't even know you exist, right? If you're not so ever present on social media, how the hell do they know that I do mortgages? And how do they know Dan sells real estate if you're not there, right?
yeah,
If you don't have social media. But
holiday party season, I'm not drinking for it. So if you're listening to this and you see me at the holiday party and you're mad at me that I'm not having a great time,
that's because he's having an emotional meltdown. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
But keeping it on the in the business side of things. So what's the other article we had regarding this season of foreclosures that some are predicting?
Yep. It's a KCM article, and it is why there won't be a flood of foreclosures coming to the housing market. I think we both have varying opinions on this, but
do you think there will be?
I don't think there will be.
No, me either.
Okay,
maybe
so we're on the same page. But I wanted to bring this up because I had one of my close friends who's buying something right now. They sent me a couple of foreclosures, and they're like, "Oh, we think we're going to wait until more come out." It seems like it's going in that path. Which I wholeheartedly disagree with. And I just simply say, like, I hear you. I understand you feel that way, but like, where are you getting that information from?
Right.
And the KCM chart here and some of the blog has some really good information as to why that won't be the case. And, their argument was like, oh, well, foreclosures are up. Well, yeah, they're up right now as opposed to the last 2 or 3 years, but they're still historically low. And they're still at a historically low level, and they are nowhere and we're talking like millions away from a 2008 level. So
yeah, I actually haven't read the article candidly. I saw the screenshot right before it, but
post.
Yes. But the reason that I would say that foreclosure, you're not going to see such a huge wave of them is because unlike 08, 09, right? Of course, we weren't working in the business then, but you need to know history so it doesn't repeat itself, right? That's why they teach history in school. And that's literally what they say. But with that being said, that housing crisis and that mass foreclosure, because foreclosure is basically I can't pay my mortgage, right?
Yeah.
So that's going to happen because of the fact that back in 08, 09, there was severely deregulated real estate financing, right? So the best example I ever heard is that the stated income was a very common thing. And that was basically as long as you can prove you worked at the place you said you worked at, the bank would go off of whatever amount you said you made, right? So if I worked at Red Lobster and I was a busboy, I would tell them that I'm franchise owner and you can actually prove I work at Red Lobster. But instead of me making $10 an hour, I told the bank I was making $250,000 a year, and boom, I got myself a 3-family in Brooklyn, right? And it's like then these people stopped paying for it and they couldn't because you were taking adjustable rate mortgages and they were kicking in. Nowadays, it is so difficult to get a mortgage. I mean, you see what we go through. Like you need the birth certificate of your firstborn, almost like we joke, because you need so much documents now. And the credit boxes and all this stuff has gotten so tight. It's harder now than ever to get a mortgage. So if we can vet you that much and we know you're going to, and most of these rates are fixed anyway. So your payment cannot really dramatically increase. So people are paying their mortgages. If you're qualifying for a mortgage, there's a damn good chance you're going to be able to pay for it for a long time. So that's why without reading the full extent of that article, just knowing what I know every day, I don't think you're going to see a lot of foreclosures.
Yeah, and the biggest thing there is that there isn't any fraudulent lending, right? Like there was in 08. And like numbers wise, right, for quarter 1 to quarter 3 of this year, foreclosures were at 88,000. They were up from last year, but in 2008 and 2009, they reached a level of 2 million. So
Unreal.
we are taught like we're not even, yes, they're up, but if it's important to read the context of these articles and these headlines and like, you see this on the news and now all of a sudden that this is like gospel, but without the context, are they up year over year? Yes,
Right.
they went from 40,000 to 88,000, but are they within even millions of foreclosures close to an 0809 level? Not even close.
No.
So, a lot of these clickbait articles, I totally understand people just hearing, the news and believing it, but you really got to do your research. But more than anything, just ask a professional, right? Like ask me, ask Greg, ask somebody that that's in the business that knows what they're doing, so that way they can explain this to you. I think that's really the biggest thing. Like as an industry, we're under attack from the news and from headlines because that's how they make their money. And without actually doing the research or being in the business, you're not going to know the difference.
Right. One thing that I want to hit on that you say that, like, just like asking people that are in it every single day, because we're talking statistics. I was reading something yesterday. I was actually writing something on it. So the great debate right now I would say the most frequently asked question that I'll get is it the right time to buy a house, right? And that question is asked in every different market. It was asked to me when I first got into the business. It was asked to me during the pandemic. And now everyone always looks for a reason to say why they shouldn't do something. So during the pandemic, and you had listings where, people were bidding 100,000. I mean, you sold my uncle's house you had 1,000,000 offers on it. Like literally, I think you had 100 offers.
Record.
Like record setting price in a neighborhood and getting like almost 100,000 over ask, all cash. People would say, listen, rates are 2%, but I ain't paying 100,000 over ask. I'll wait. Now it's rates are high, but I'll wait. People are always looking for that reason, right? So if you wait for the perfect time to do something, I truly feel like it's never going to come.
Yeah.
And so you really just have to take action. But what I was saying, great debate. People are saying right now, like, should I rent? Should I buy? And the stat that I saw that's very interesting, it was from Zillow, and being that we're primarily in New York, it was New York rental market. And 1 year, so year over year, 52 weeks, the average rent for the same exact apartment. So let's say you had a 1 bedroom in the Flatiron district, right? On average, it was $644 more expensive this year than it was last for that same exact apartment. Now, if you look at that statistic, a mortgage this year was the lowest we got in 2022. This is using like Mortgage News Daily, which is just trends like all average offerings. 3.17%, I believe it was, which was the lowest we got this year. The highest we got this year was 7.37 as an average. The same loan amount. So if we're using a $500,000 loan amount, the difference in payment between those two rates is $1,300 a month for the same mortgage amount. So in that case, it's like, well, you look at those increases, actually rent seemed to be cheaper. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is that just ask, like, what are your intentions and what are your goals? And do you want to own? Are you going to move? Do you have to move? Because either can make sense. Renting could make sense. Buying can make sense. You have to make sense of it for yourself.
Yeah.
I don't know what you think about this rent buy thing, but I want to hear about it.
Well, I mean, I think everybody's situation is different, and I think more than anything, it's important too.
I mean, you know better than anyone. You literally owned a house, made it amazing.
Yeah.
Backyard, this, that, height of the market, and now then you went into a rental, and I think people would like to hear about that.
Well, and it's funny that you say that too, because literally an hour ago, I got an email. So I sold my house and now I'm renting while I'm trying to buy myself. And my rent just went up $500, like literally an hour ago. So I'm looking at it, and my mortgage payment on a $550,000 house with $18,000 taxes, where let's just say $4,200 plus, utilities and all that stuff.
Utilities, yeah.
The rental that I have is, let's just say, it was $3,200 a month, and I got like $1,000 discount because I know the people. Now it's $3,700 a month. So in theory, it really is the exact same thing, almost a difference of $400. But I owned that, and I was paying, like it was an investment. So I'm
and listen, you made right. I was going to say, you didn't get the short end of the stick. You sold it and you pocketed a lot of money, and that's a great thing about real estate, right? Like
it's the best investment you can make.
It's like betting on stocks too. It's like, oh, I'm in on the IPO, and then it just took off. So, real estate has been such a stable investment, but it's just funny that, like, I think whether you know it or not, as an agent, you've bought a house, sold a house, rented a house. Like, you've actually been through all of that shit that people would like. You're a very good source of knowledge for what should I do, because you're literally an agent and you're renting right now, and you figured out that you hated it.
Yeah.
So it's like,
and it also allows me to empathize too. It
Yeah,
allows me
let
to
us
empathize
make the
with somebody
mistakes. You
that,
don't. Yeah.
yeah, I can empathize with somebody that's renting that wants to buy. I can empathize with somebody that's sold that maybe misses their house. I can empathize with the entire process of buying and selling and the anxiety behind it. It's made me such a better agent. And I think, to go back to your first point, I think it's per case, right? Like if it makes sense to buy or if it makes sense to wait. But more than anything, I think you need to get with like an industry professional like myself or Greg and just go over the pros and cons. Like, what are the pros of buying now? What are the cons? What are the pros of waiting 6 months? What are the cons? What do you
Right.
need to do? Do you need to work on your credit? Do you need more money to save up? I was speaking to one of my buddies who just got into the Suffolk Police Department, and he's like, "Yeah, I want to buy in like the next 3 or 4 months." He's like, "I got like 15 grand saved." I'm like, what
Yeah,
do
they don't
you
even
know?
have a clue.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm like, so come into my office on Monday. Like, let's have a meeting. Like, you're not buying a house with 15 grand saved. Let's talk about what you need to do for the next 6 months and how you can get prepared. So I think more than anything, if you're an agent, you should be reaching out to everybody. It's a perfect excuse, and ask them to sit down and go over it. And I think if you are a consumer and you're listening to this, it's also important to reach out to your professional.
Yeah, I think
Same agent.
consumers, I get this sentiment all the time that they feel like because they're not so ready right now that they feel like they're wasting our time. Like, do you think the amount of times that, like, even if you have no money, but one day you'll buy a house, and hopefully we're still doing this for a living. There's no reason why we won't be. So whether I sit with you to tell you how to plan to do that now and you buy in 4 years, like that's how our business is built. So you're never annoying anybody.
Yep.
And if they say you're annoying them, then they should drop dead because they shouldn't be. Yeah, get them gone. So
I was
like,
gonna say that way nice. I was gonna say that you got to use somebody
yeah,
else.
get a new agent. But
Yeah,
yeah,
geez. Talk about
that's
getting morbid there.
but it's true. We want that. Like, we want
Yeah.
people to be like, I want to buy a house. How do I do it? We have to set their expectations and tell them what to do. That is our job. We're not we. That's the craziest thing about like what we do is that you don't wake up every day and just like, oh, okay, so I'm going to log on. I have these 3 things to do, then I'm done. Like, we have to do what we think is right. That's going to help us get paid in the future. And that is having those meetings with your friend who may not buy for 2 years because we're always building for the future, really, you know?
Yeah, and like even like the past week alone, I've had a cousin that's reached out to me. They were like, "Hey, like, I don't know if this is like the process, but we found a listing. It's through Open Door. Like, can we use you?" Yes, yes. Like, I had another friend of mine that texted me about a house that has been on the market for like 450 days. I've been in the house like probably 10 times. So, it's so interesting, like the dynamic, like as much as you can educate people and as much as we talk about these different things, it's like once the time kind of comes, they like, I don't know if they like panic or, it's like, hey, like, can we use you for if the listing is through Open Door? Like, yes. And by the way,
Yes.
you're buying a house, like like let's get together, like before we go and look at listings, let's do a Zoom. Let's go to the office. Let's grab coffee. I'll come over. I know I've been to your house a million times, but let's sit down and actually go through everything because, most people don't really know.
Yeah. You ever have a situation where you find out that someone you know that should know what you do buys a house and they didn't use you? And it's just like, oh boy, like it's the worst feeling in the entire world. If it hasn't happened to you, then God bless you. But
No, I
it's
mean,
always our fault, by the way. Like,
well, I mean, it's happened to me, and it's happened to me in the sense of like people, have known, everybody knows. I think an average of like 8 real estate agents. So it's like, oh, well, my cousin Matt Midrise, who's literally in here, who's backstage right now. Who, oh my God, I've been working with this kid for 4 years. Like, this kid is Matt. Come on, screen.
come on in.
This kid, and that's a prime example.
I actually, I knew this in the back of my head, but I had no idea this was going to come up.
I
I
wasn't even
forgot
going to
that.
use him as the example. I was going to talk
Yes.
about how, I've had
This is
people on social
perfect.
media. They have their cousin, they have their friend. And granted, Matt's given me a ton of referrals. Like his grandmother, like still writes me on Facebook for sure. But Matt is a prime example.
So does mine, by the way.
We work with this. Yes, here's those too. We work with this kid. I don't know if he's still trying to buy or not, but like, I get it in the sense of like he has a relationship with everybody on the team. So like if he went with me or one person, like it could be awkward. But he used somebody that's a family friend, like, right, Matt?
Yeah, my parents used a family friend to sell their house.
Bastard.
And it was a disaster. Obviously, can't say.
There we go.
But I said at the end of the process, like, this is why I recommended Dan. This is why I told you guys to do that route versus another route. And like you said,
all nervous now.
Everyone, but it's worth mentioning.
He's turtling.
My grandma sends Dan a Christmas card, but not me.
Well, there you go.
So
I'm pretty sure my uncle and Dan may be best friends, and he sold his house. So that's a good quality. But I totally forgot that. I remember you saying.
Well, so
that.
I mean, but it goes to show you, like, the last couple of years, people have gotten away with it, right? Like everybody knows 8 people, so maybe it worked out for them. But I know an overwhelming majority of people that have not used myself or the team that went a different direction and they hated it. And I think the number is like 65% of people that bought in the last 3 years would say that they did not have a good experience with their
I've
agent.
seen that. It's insane.
That is like a really high number. And then
like
there's
you're
also
in hospitality. Like these people should love you.
well, then also 35% of people that bought in the last, let's say 3 years, they say that they feel like they settled. So maybe they bought something in a district they didn't want to, or maybe they, less bathrooms, less
Saw
bedrooms
that
because
too.
of how crazy the market was. But I think like now more than ever, people are going to start to realize how important it is to use, the people that are in this every single day that are, this is the perfect line. Ready? And I get this. I say this all the time. If you're going to get heart surgery, do you want to go to the surgeon who performs heart surgery once every 6 months, 3 times a year? Or do you want to go and get heart surgery? Do you trust that person that does it 30 times a week, 30 times a month, 400 times a year? I want to get that heart surgery by the surgeon that's there every single day. And once I use that line, they're like, "Oh, hey, Aunt Bunny, yeah, sorry, you're fired."
Aunt Bunny, yeah.
That's true.
It's I'm seeing it more now than I ever really picked up on, because obviously naturally it's just slower right now. But I've always done pretty well before I started working with like teams, right? Like your team, for example, with a bunch of realtors in one. I've always was operating really just on referrals from outside of real estate, just people reaching out to me and saying, "Oh, I know your brother. I know this is what you do." But I've had a ton of people reach out to me. "Hey, I want to buy a house. What do I need to do?" I sit down with them, tell them exactly what to do, credit, tell them what they're qualified for. Then I see a post on Instagram and it's like, you bought a house? Like, whatever. I hate it. It sucks, but we are moving on to.
Well, last thought on that too. I think that like if that's happening, sometimes it is just the consumer. Sometimes maybe in your case, maybe they get a better rate or whatever it is. But I think more now than ever,
Well, family steps in too, which sucks. Like, hey, I use this guy, and
family always steps in for the most part. And also you got to think like the last couple of years, like on my side of things, you could have done the double P strategy, which is pictures and pray, and you probably could have sold the house. So a lot of people felt that, they could do it on their own, or that they're, Aunt Bunny who does it, or Uncle Jerry who does it 3 times a year, like they did a good job. But they don't realize that they probably left money on the table. They probably had more of a stressful experience than they should have. So now more than ever, I think people are going to start to kind of like get privy to it. And it's now is the time where people and agents and individuals that are really doing the right thing, like you and I, now is when
they're sticking around. And you're already seeing people drop out of this business, like the ones that are like, "Yeah, I'm just not doing this anymore." So I think that when we come out on the other side of this thing, and I actually think it's probably like the spring market of 23, at least for just like more transactions. Like it's just weird to see how people are like just not acting right now. But when the dust
too, though.
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, to be honest with you, I talk like, I'm upset that people aren't really acting right now, but I don't think I personally would buy a house in the 3 weeks leading up to Christmas. I mean, think about what we just dealt with from November to December. You have Thanksgiving. You were in Kentucky at the Louisville Slugger factory. Like then you're back home quick, and then you went away for a second, and now like holiday parties. So we feel so busy right now, but people aren't really transacting so much. But again, if I put myself in the consumer's shoes, like I'm probably not doing anything crazy right now.
When I closed on my house, I actually got the like time hop thing 3 weeks ago. I closed on my house November 5th of 2020. And it was absolutely diabolical because for 3 or 4 months, I didn't have any furniture.
Yeah.
I was basically living in like an empty house. I was renovating it while I was living there. I didn't have a bedroom set.
I did the same shit.
I shouldn't have bought at that time. And then it was like Thanksgiving and holiday parties, and you have summits. And it was just, I was so overwhelmed and so stressed out. Like I went under contract, I think in the end of July. So I think it's just
a little bit of time.
And I don't think anyone's really chomping at the bit to, buy during the season. But I will tell you that after the holidays, to say January 5th, let's say, everyone's going to be like, "Oh, I just went to Aunt Bunny's house or my Uncle Jerry's house, and I love their house. And now I have house fever." And that's when the phones will start to pick up.
Yeah, I agree. So we kickstarted the episode with the.
Wait, we haven't said one time, and we haven't said one time to make sure you like and subscribe or comment. Like, damn, we were supposed to say like 15 times.
Like and subscribe and comment.
Yeah, well, we should have said that from the very freaking beginning. But if you're listening,
maybe we could do like a little clip.
Throw us a like or comment, and subscribe,
Yeah.
or tell us how bad we're doing. If
Oh
that's,
yeah, or like well, I think like what anyone wants to like kind of hear about. I think like we're talking about struggles we have in our industry, but as we bring on people who are outside of real estate, we'll kind of hear what they deal with as well. Which I'm actually curious to see how other consumer because other markets outside of real estate, like the holidays is the best time for spending, right? Because everyone's got to buy a gift for someone, right? So if you're selling a product, you're
if you
probably
go to the
thrilled
mall
right
right
now.
now, you would not know that people are not spending money.
Oh
It is
no,
a madhouse, and it's partly probably because of the holiday season. But like even in like June, I would go there. I would go to like Roosevelt Field Mall on Tuesday, like 5 o'clock, or Tuesday at 1 o'clock in June, and I couldn't even get into Suit Supply or I couldn't even park. I had to like park on like a freaking mountain of snow. Like
the
there's
big
just
problem is though, this is something that's actually serious, and hope maybe we could find the chart for this and add it after the fact. But did you see the statistic on consumer credit data? So all of this spending that you're still seeing out there, unfortunately, is being spent on credit right now, like at all-time highs, which it
that is
sucks because
scary.
that's scary because now rates are high. People bitch at me all the time. Oh, interest rates, mortgage rates. Look at the interest rates on your credit cards. Yes, inflation, everything's high right now, but you're all buying on money that's not yours. And those rates are like 20%. You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? Like, I think they were like 16, now maybe they're 19, but people are still very happy to spend because they have to live and they have to buy gifts, and that's great, but don't buy it on credit. And it's definitely not going to help you get a mortgage.
No, I hate credit, but I've now, as I'm maturing as a business person, I've now
Yeah,
realized the
that's a great
importance
segue.
that is
That's
in
a
it.
great segue.
Really,
It's actually epic. So, going back into the ATM thing. So, I didn't even know that would allude to what we're talking about now. But that Diplo thing at the ATM, you should never. I am not a financial advisor. This is a disclosure, but you should never leave a substantial amount of money in a checking account. And I was told this because I remember my first debit card I ever got, Bethpage Federal Credit Union. I had like $10 in the account. I would use it to like get gas and whatever the case may be. And it was a debit account. Like my mom had to load money into there. I don't even know how old I was. But I remember somebody, there was like a thing going on where like you put your debit card in at 7-Eleven and people can like read your numbers. And
oh, they do it
someone
at
was,
gas stations too.
they were testing my card and I didn't realize this. They were testing my card to like baby little withdrawals, and somebody bought an entire fucking bedroom set at IKEA. And I uncovered this because I was at a bar underage actually, and I went to pay. Like I was finally making a little bit of money, and I was like, yeah, like I'm
Was
gonna
that a year
pay.
ago? This kid just literally just
No,
21.
I'm not 21, but I maybe I was 19 or 20, and I went to go pick up, like I went to go pay for the check at the bar, and the guy's like, "Yeah, bro, you don't got any money on this card." And I knew I did, and I was so embarrassed, and I opened up my app, and I saw like thousands of dollars at IKEA, but the money was gone because it was mine. I debited it, and I was like, I stopped using. I might keep $100 in my checking account at all time because it's just like if you're gonna steal my money, I hope I'm using a credit card. You can steal their money. It's not mine. But don't leave money in your checking account. But you just got smoked. So,
Yeah.
oh boy.
Before I get into this,
Oh wait, was Matt saying? That's a good point. Where should you keep your money? Conservatively, if you should spend on a credit card, you should have a very whatever the limit that you get is, whatever your actual spending is, your groceries, your gas, or whatever, spend on a credit card, pay it in full every month, and you can keep your cash keep it in a money market account or a savings account. Invest in a brokerage account, but don't be associating the money that you spend with a plastic card because you will end up like Dan.
Yeah. So, story is someone.
I've been hacked.
Yeah. So, I got hacked. I did exactly that, and I had money in a debit account, the business debit, and I've let the numbers fly. So there's been a lot of people who have access to the account. What I should have done as a mature person or a business person is, if I was going to give it to employees or different people, they have their own individual card. Unfortunately, I did not do that, and I was on the phone with Chase Bank yesterday for 4 hours. I'm going to go to Chase Bank directly after we finish this episode, hopefully in the next 2 or 3 minutes. But yeah, so essentially, I've $300,000 has been is fraudulent and missing. Granted, like I've had a tough go the last couple months, like in the sense of like my dog getting really sick, and I can make all the excuses in the world, but really, I had the checks and balances on the account, but really, it comes back to me. It's my own fault. I should have been smarter. I should have paid more attention to it. I should have noticed sooner. And yeah, I mean, people are gonna be like, well, how the hell did you not notice 300,000? It's not like they just, withdrew $300,000. It was just
They were
spent.
testing you. Yeah, that's what they do. And like people don't understand, like, I guess like people who are realtors resonate, but like you guys you separate the masses. So like you have accounts where you run your expenses through your leads, your coaching, so it's not always the easiest to, if you know what's going out, you're like, it looks about right because they're only taking
Mhm.
400 at a time or $50. And if you're not super hyper focused on your account balances, like you said, you got a little careless with it. I've always been a complete psycho knowing what I'm spending, but
Yeah.
lesson learned, but it's scary because I think you're saying they're telling you right now that they could only refund up to like 60 days, right? So this is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go to Chase right after this and find out more. But yeah, they're basically saying they can only refund 60 days. And yeah, I mean, it's like a classic, stealing, right? They start with like a little bit. So when I was going through my account, they were doing like, $100, $75, 150.
Sucks.
Then it started to then they started doing it more, and then they started doing it for more expensive things. And I have like an alert for like 500 or more. So they kept it below that. So like it never really, dinged. My financial advisors and the people that manage the account, they just thought it was me spending the money or, another expense. So they didn't like get alarmed by it. And over time, it just like they got more and more greedy. They used it more and more until finally it was like last month they used it 450 times. And my financial advisor was like, hey, I think something's not right. Like you're not using this card 450 times a month. So yeah, I have to go to Chase after this and find out. Lesson learned, like for sure, everything is a lesson. I'm glad these things are happening to me now where I can learn from them and course correct, as opposed to like if I was 60 years old and this was like my retirement and this happened to me and I had nothing, that would be a lot. And like I feel bad for the people that are older who are not as like technologically advanced as us. Like
They would have not a clue how to
could
track
very
that.
easily see my mom, getting a notification like, hey, your Amazon, blah, 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 blah. Like, please resubmit your card, or like your Facebook account's been hacked. Please put in your account information. And it's a scam. And now they're out, all the money they've ever worked for. So I'm hopefully going to get this sorted out. But yeah, Chase is also 4 hours on the phone with Chase. And I think I made it worse. Like, I don't even think anything, I think I just shut everything down and it took 4 hours. As somebody who like, you saw the screenshot, Greg, like a 7-figure in and out, like, I feel like this should be a lot easier. I'm going to Chase and I'm pulling out all my money and I'm putting it under my mattress. So if you want to come and rob me, you know where I live.
Yeah, that's a great disclaimer. All right, so now Chase, as we bring Chase up, so as we conclude, Chase has been added to your blacklist. And I have to say, if Matt pulls up the screenshot here, the first thing I know, I've always found this absolutely hysterical that you keep it in your notes section. But one of the other things that you don't know that I always realize is your phone is never charged. I mean, every time I've ever gotten a screenshot sent to me by Dave, he loves screenshots. Like instead of him just like reverberating like in a mess, like he'll just send you the screenshot and have you try to figure it out.
Wait, hold on,
Look,
it's actually right now my phone is at 16%.
It's completely bizarre. I've never received a screenshot. I'll have to go back and compile these where he didn't have like zero battery. There's never battery. It's unreal. And he doesn't even have one of those like nerdy battery pack cases. It's just whatever. It's a big problem. But blacklist, we added Chase Bank to number 1. So go through the rest.
I mean, listen, Chase Bank, it will be number 1. They will be number 1.
Maybe they come off after this episode though. So the next time we film, they've rectified it.
I don't think there's a way unless they give me a duffel bag full of cash. And unless there's more money than was like removed from the account, like almost like an interest or like, hey, we're really sorry about this. I don't think that they will ever be removed from. It's going to take a lot to.
It kind of not to be patting Chase on the back though, and of course not to throw you under the bus and beat you while you're down. But it's really not their fault. No, it is. Yeah.
It's more my fault than anything.
But they should have tracked your habits. Like if you're not consistently buying like I don't know what could be the most random thing in the world that you might buy.
One of them was like a woman's jewelry store.
Oh, that's not that. If you were buying like horse tranquilizer, right? Like that would be something where it's like that's unusual. He doesn't usually use his business account to buy animal stabilizers. But
I'm taking full account. Like I should be number one on there too. I'm taking full accountability for it. It's not Chase's fault. It's my fault. The reason they are number one is just because of how brutal the customer service is, and the fact that I had to spend 4 hours on the phone with them yesterday.
he's actually not kidding. Again, screenshot. I think it was just below 4 hours, right?
It was literally just below, and I hung up. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't do it anymore. I had to get back to work. So Chase is number one. Again, my fault. Taking accountability for it, but they have gone to number one. Number two is just airplanes in general because of how many issues and delays. I had a delay going to Art Basel for 3 hours. Like. Perfect example, delay for we get to the gate. They go, yeah, we have a 3-hour delay now because of maintenance as we're boarding, literally boarding. So I'm like, okay, 3 hours. They're like, yes, 3 hours. No alert on my phone, nothing. We go get lunch. I spend like $120 on like lunch, let's say a meal, get like a mimosa. And all of a sudden I get a text. It's like, hey, we're boarding in 15 minutes. Literally, they said 3 hours. And 20 minutes later, they go, hey, by the way, we're boarding now. Get on the plane. I had to pay my lunch tab and just go back to the gate. Not even eat. Like I was like, hey, buddy, you can have the food. Like, keep it. So airplanes and Delta I got to update that. They're number two, number three. Weather, of course.
Well, then JetBlue made it as well. So there's the big hate with the airlines.
Oh, it's just it's insane. The amount of issues I've had. JetBlue is going to always be there just because of how many canceled flights I've had this year. My eczema, as you can see, that's always going to be in the top 10 for sure. I hate people who clap when the plane lands. As somebody that is, flying 3 to 5 times a month now, if the plane lands, that's their job. Okay. We don't need a round of applause. I don't get a round of applause when I walk into at the closing table. No one's sitting there like, right. Like,
you know what the remedy is for all of these hates with the airlines?
It's just a comment that like the people that stand up when the plane lands or like, as soon as like you hear doo-doo and everyone's just like unbuckling, like ravaging to grab their bags. Like you're in seat 49F, buddy. Slow down. All right.
This sounds like the guy who one day will make it his life's goal to own his own plane.
That would be sick. But I wouldn't trust it. I wouldn't like
because it's too small. You just gotta like scooter everywhere at this point.
I start driving everywhere. No, but the people that clap and the people that race to grab their bags, like you should be thrown in prison.
I agree.
The cardboard bags at Stop and Shop. Like if you're not from New York, if you don't have a Stop and Shop, maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, but they're brutal. Just like, they're the worst material ever. Every time I go get groceries, by the time I even get to my floor, everything's on the ground.
You don't even get groceries anymore. They deliver them, and then the girls in the apartment over steal them from you.
That's story. Number 9 and number 10, Pete Davidson. He's just not funny at all. And Jack Black, like just again, not funny. So that's the top 10. There's probably some more that I don't have included in there, but really like just airplanes and weather. I hate weather right now. And yeah, Chase Banks for sure on the top of there.
So retail banks, air travel, and really the earth. I mean, weather in general.
And people and just a lot of people.
So everyone.
If you clap when the plane lands, like just you're not my friend. Just know that. And if you're sitting in seat 49F, you don't need to grab your bag right away. Just you got some time, right? They got to taxi the plane, right? Because then the person's standing right in front, like, and you're just sitting there, like
it's absolutely brutal.
They're reaching over you, like they got a dog with them. It's just don't.
I actually, and not that I want to keep going on this air travel thing, but I understand the first class tickets and like you pay more money so you have a better experience, but you should 100% be loading the plane back to front, like you're putting. Like group 1, group 2, like it's so stupid because then everyone stops. Like if I'm in row 10 and I start putting my bags up, but there's someone behind me that needs to get to 49. Now I'm waiting for you to put your shit up. Then you put your stuff. It's brutal. Like load the plane from the back to the front.
Two things, and this is the last I'll talk about it. And make sure you like and subscribe. Number 1, I as I'm maturing as a business person, I finally started using like Delta the right way. So I finally got the
Sky Club. Oh my God, it's the best.
Game changer.
It's
taken like I had to spend X amount to get it because I used to use Expedia, like again didn't have any self-awareness or business awareness, so finally got that, which is really cool. And then the other thing that happened to me was we were in seat like 11, like Comfort Plus, but because of this whole debacle of like we had to deboard and then go back on, we like boarded kind of like late or later, I would say. So I'm sitting in seat 12. I had to put my bags in seat 36. Yep. I had to wait till everybody got off the plane to then schlep back to the end of it by the bathroom and grab my bag. It's just like, I feel like almost like a douchebag, like with these problems, but like, whatever. I just hate flying. I wish there was a way that I could not do it. I hate driving. I hate flying. I hate Earth. I hate the weather. I hate a lot of people. Make sure you like and subscribe.
Great. Yeah, but make sure you please like and subscribe.
I hate Matt for not using us when he. Okay.
And, you know, right before we close out the show, Dan, I just want to give you a round of applause for doing your job.
Thank you. See, I don't want that. Like if I'm the cat, I don't want that. A great time to round out the show. All right. If you like this, make sure you like, subscribe. If you hate it, do the same and comment. Let us know. Let us know any topics you want us to talk about, any guests that you'd like us to have on. And I guess we'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe.